Hey everybody, Amazing Libertarian here. To begin with, I'm so sorry about not making videos over the past week or so. I've been really busy with real world stuff, and every time I've tried to make this video, I've tried a few times over the past week, but for some reason I just can't get it right. So hopefully this is the video that'll be going on YouTube. If you're seeing it, I guess it is. So this is going to be a video response to Born as Photo Meadows video. His response to my Jesus equals God video. First off, thanks for making the video, Born as Photo Meadow. And I'm going to be going through the points he made. I think it was 6 major points he made. And I'm going to go through them in this video and refute them and further my case for why I think Jesus is God. So let's get started. His first point was responding to my argument about the empty tomb and the resurrection, which was the major argument I brought up in my video. And he was asking me for sources to prove my argument. And the source I gave was A.T. Robertson. He rightly pointed out that that is an inaccurate source because he was born 1700 years after the tomb was supposedly empty. I should have done background research on him. I didn't, so that don't go off of A.T. Robertson. That's my fault. So I'm going to go through my empty tomb argument with different sources this time. So I'm just going to go through it step by step. So first off, Jesus died during the crucifixion and then was buried in the tomb. The fact that Jesus was crucified is supported by extra-biblical sources and confirm this fact, one of which is Thallus, a non-Christian Samaritan historian. He even put the crucifixion of Jesus Christ in his book, History of the World, which he wrote in AD 52. He explained that darkness fell after Jesus died on the cross with an eclipse of the sun. Jewish sources also refer to Jesus' crucifixion as happening. So now that we've established that Jesus was crucified, how do we know that he died from the crucifixion? Well, crucifixion ensures that there will be death. But let's say somehow Jesus survived the crucifixion. Then he is wrapped up and put in a tomb for 3 days. No water, no food, and no medical attention. There's no way he would have survived after being crucified, put in a tomb for 3 days, and then taken out. And let's say somehow even survives being in the tomb for 3 days. Do you really think his followers are going to praise him as God if they find him half dead and not able to heal himself? Obviously, if it is true that they found him in perfectly good health after being resurrected, he must have died and then rose again. He couldn't have just survived. And if he were to survive and be in perfect condition, that'd be supernatural in and of itself, so it still means that he was God. And then, so to prove the resurrection, we have to establish that the tomb was empty a few days after the crucifixion. So to prove this, there is Professor of Philosophy Dr. G.R. Habermas in his Ancient Evidence for the Life of Jesus. He writes, "Our study of the extra-biblical sources has shown that Jesus taught in Palestine and was crucified and buried in Jerusalem under Pontius Pilate. These sources assert that Christianity had its beginnings in the same location." Basically, the point being made there is that the apostles went directly to Jerusalem, where he was crucified, in order to start preaching about Christianity. And what they did was they went there, and then they started preaching Christianity. And so in order to put this down, all the Jews would have had to have done is to present the body of Jesus Christ and say, we have the body. He wasn't resurrected. Instead, the Jews said, the Christians stole the body. So they were acknowledging that the tomb was empty. And he... Born as Photo Meadow, he brought up the point, well, what if the body wasn't placed in the tomb? If that was true, the Jewish response would have been, well, we never placed the body in the tomb, that's why the tomb is empty. But their response was, we placed it in the tomb, and you stole it. So that's the empty tomb. And I'm going to go over the stolen argument in a minute here. I'll just go over it right now. So the argument against it was that the disciples stole the body. But that... it's not very likely that they would have been able to do so with the guards, as I've already mentioned in previous videos. But let's say they stole the body. Let's say they did it. but then they'd be living a lie for the rest of their life. They'd be living a lie, and they knew it was a lie because they stole the body. So what reason, if they knew it was a lie, and their religion was a lie, and that Jesus was not God, why would they be punished, tortured, and eventually killed? I believe it was 10 of his disciples were eventually killed for their faith. If they knew it was a lie, then it would seem likely that they would admit this under pressure of death. So it's not very likely that they would have stolen the body. So I'm going to go back to the empty tomb. There's also Jewish testimony to prove that there was, in fact, an empty tomb, as I stated. So the next point is that the disciples had real experiences with Jesus. They knew him personally, and they knew for a fact if he was resurrected. They knew if he was not resurrected, and they knew if he was. So what reason would they have to believe that he was God unless he really was? Why would they say and profess that they knew Jesus was God if he wasn't? What personal gain could they get from it? There was nothing to gain from it. They would only die for their faith. So there's no reason that they would do any of that, that they would lie. There'd be no personal gain to get from that. So that's basically me going through my empty tomb argument once again with different sources. So the next point he made in his video was testimony alone doesn't make something true. And then on top of that, he also mentioned they could have lied. I already went through their lying. But he said testimony doesn't necessarily make anything true, especially the supernatural, which I agree with. Testimony alone doesn't make it 100% true. However, it makes it more likely. It's a point of evidence. It's evidence to support it. It's proof. It's not necessarily proof, but it's a point of evidence to help prove something. So testimony doesn't make it true, but testimony defends the fact that I might believe it's true. It helps to further the knowledge and the understanding of it to prove that it's true. So you're right. Testimony alone doesn't make it true, but testimony is definitely a point of evidence that you should examine when you examine truth from false, something that's false. Truth from lie, I guess. Then he made the point, his third point, how do you know if someone is God? Which, to that I would respond, supernatural things such as resurrection. And then he stated, well, Jesus could have been an illusionist. Well, I kind of already went over this. The fact is, he couldn't have faked the death. The crucifixion ensures death, and even if he survived, he would have been half dead, and there'd be no reason for the disciples to believe he was God if he couldn't have healed himself. So I basically already addressed that one in my empty tomb argument. And then he brought up the definition of delusion, because I said in one of my previous videos that all of his disciples couldn't have possibly been delusional. They couldn't have all been crazy or anything like that. And he gave the definition of delusional. And so he went through the 4 things that qualify for delusional. First one was a fixed belief, which he said religion describes, in particular Christianity, which I disagree with. My belief is not a fixed belief. I will change my belief based off of what the facts are. Now, fixed belief describes many Christians, but I don't think it describes all Christians. A false belief, that if, the second one is a false belief, if God doesn't exist, then they're delusional because it's false. Yeah, I can't disagree with that. If God doesn't exist, religion is a false belief. Then he brought up, it's an illogical belief. To which I want to respond, he gave Noah's Ark and a bunch of different examples, which I don't believe in the examples he gave except for the resurrection of Jesus, which he said was illogical. To me, a logical argument is something that has evidence and reasoning to back it up. I think that's what I would define as a logical argument. And there's reasoning and there's evidence that I've provided to show why I think Jesus is God. So I don't think, or to provide why I believe in the resurrection, and how that proves Jesus is God. So no, I don't think that's illogical. I don't think it's illogical to believe in something that has evidence to support it.